Hello and welcome to Books of Blood. My name is John, and once again, horror across America is rolling on. This time we're going to be stopping through two more states. The first one is the state of Missouri, and then we're going to go all the way up in whichever direction Montana is, and we're going to be covering Montana. I believe I've got a total of 7 books here, so let's go ahead and get underway, alright? So, from Missouri, the first one we've got is Clown in a Cornfield, and this is by Adam Cesar. I read this one. I enjoyed it. It's a young adult book. Let me go ahead and read the synopsis for you. Quinn Maybrook and her father have moved to tiny, boring Kettle Springs to find a fresh start. But what they don't know is that ever since the Bay Pen corn syrup factory shut down, Kettle Springs has cracked in half. On one side are the adults who are desperate to make Kettle Springs great again, and on the other are the kids who want to have fun, make prank videos, and get out of Kettle Springs as quickly as they can. Kettle Springs is caught in a battle between old and new, tradition and progress. It's a fight that looks like it will destroy the town. Until Friendo, the Bay Pen mascot, a creepy clown in a pork pie hat, goes homicidal and decides that the only way for Kettle Springs to grow back is to cull the rotten crop of kids who live there now. And that is Clown in a Cornfield, and that is by Adam Cesar. I like the fact that the clown is named Friendo because that's what the character Anton Chigurh referred to people as in No Country for Old Men, and I wonder if that might have been a little bit of a nod to that, or the movie, or whatever. Who knows? I'm not sure. Anyway, all right. Next up, and I have read this one. I love this book. I'm actually reading. I actually just finished a story by this author. It's a Dracula story that takes place in the Old West. I'm reading an anthology for review. But the story I'm talking about now is Crato, and this is by Al Going Back. Sheriff Skip Harding is investigating a double murder that has shaken the quiet town of Logan, Missouri. A slaughter that seems too brutal for a human perpetrator. A bear? Maybe. But there are no bears. A bear? Maybe. But there are no bears in the area. Bodies begin to pile up, and Skip soon discovers that bullets are useless against this foe. Only with the help of Cherokee game warden Jay Littlehawk and the wisdom of Lakota medicine man George Strong Eagle can Skip hope to stop the monster before it's too late. A magical tale blending elements of mystery, suspense, and Native American mythology. And that is Crato, and that is by Al Going Back. Alright. Okay, moving on through Missouri, we have got Mr. Shivers, and this is by Robert Jackson Bennett. With his debut novel, Mr. Shivers, Southern writer Robert Jackson Bennett presents a pulpy Great Depression horror story where a mysterious killer trails death behind him. After his daughter is brutally murdered, a revenge-seeking Marcus Connolly leaves Memphis on a hunt across America's hobo camps and ghost towns for the grotesquely scarred, ghostly figure known as Mr. Shivers. On his quest, Connolly teams up with a scrappy band of hobos recovering from their own brushes with the Gray Man, and the body count increases as they ride the rails tracking their target. Connolly's spiraling bloodlust begins to rival Shivers, threatening to take more than just his family and friends away from him. Sprinkled with hobo folklore, Bennett's supernatural dust storm of a debut offers a killer premise and may remind readers of vintage Stephen King, and that is according to Brad Thomas Parsons. And that is Mr. Shivers. And I'm not really sure why I included that one in the Missouri thing. I could have swore that I read somewhere that took place in Missouri. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't. If it doesn't, let me know if you've read the book. And if it doesn't, I apologize. My mistake. My bad, or whatever. Alright. Does anybody say my bad anymore? I just said my bad. I don't think anybody says my bad anymore. So, so that was my bad. Shit, I said it again. Anyway. Okay, next up, finally for Missouri, we have got The Curse, and this is by Carl Sherrill. And this is a very short synopsis. Doesn't really tell you anything about the book. You can see the cover right there. You can imagine what's going on with that. Anyway, it says, evil and death comes to everyone in a southern town, a town doomed by an old curse to die over and over again. And that is The Curse, and that is by Carl Sherrill. Okay? All right. Moving on, we're going to be moving up into Montana. I've got 3 books here from Montana. First one is Winter Moon, and this is by Dean Koontz. In Los Angeles, a hot Hollywood director high on PCP turns a city street into a fiery apocalypse. Heroic LAPD officer Jack McGarvey is badly wounded and will not walk for months. His wife and his child are left to fend for themselves against both criminals that control an increasingly violent city and the dead director's cult of fanatic fans. In a lonely corner of Montana, Eduardo Fernandez, the father of McGarvey's murdered partner, witnesses a strange nocturnal sight. The stand of pines outside his house suddenly glows with eerie amber light, and Fernandez senses a watcher in the winter woods. As the seasons change, the very creatures of the forest seem in league with a mysterious presence. Fernandez is caught up in a series of chilling incidents that escalate toward a confrontation that could rob him of his sanity or his life, or both. As events careen out of control, the McGarvey family is drawn to Fernandez's Montana ranch. In that isolated place, they discover their destiny in a terrifying and fiercely suspenseful encounter with a hostile, utterly ruthless, and enigmatic enemy from which neither the living nor the dead are safe. And that is Winter Moon, and that is by Dean Koontz. I remember him when he was Dean R. Koontz. He dropped the R out. I mean, he took a page out of Robert McCammon's book. McCammon was Robert R. McCammon, and he dropped the R out of his name. Okay, next up from Montana, we have The Only Good Indians, and this is by Matt Shaw. By Matt Shaw. Why did I say Matt Shaw? I am so sorry for that. I'm looking right at the name and I said Matt Shaw. Stephen Graham Jones. I apologize for that. So there we go. From New York Times bestselling author Stephen Graham Jones comes a novel that is equal parts psychological horror and cutting social commentary on identity politics and the American Indian experience. Fans of Jordan Peele and Tommy Orange will love this story as it follows the lives of 4 American Indian men and their families, all haunted by a disturbing, deadly event that took place in their youth. Years later, they find themselves tracked by an entity bent on revenge, totally helpless as the culture and traditions they left behind catch up to them in a violent, vengeful way. And that is The Only Good Indians, and that is by Stephen Graham Jones. And if you notice, I kind of laughed a little bit. I saw where it says Jordan Peele and Tommy Orange, and I thought, if these two got married, it would be the Orange Peel wedding. I'm sorry, that was just horrible. I just forget that joke. Scratch that joke from your memory. But I couldn't resist. I'm sorry. And last but not least, we have got The Loon, and this is by Michael Brent Collings. Ever since losing his son in a tragic accident, Dr. Paul Wiseman has tried to lose himself in his work, and The Loon is the perfect place to do it. Totally isolated, hundreds of miles from the nearest town, and that's by design because the Loon is a supermax prison designed for one thing only: to keep the world's most dangerous madmen, murderers, and psychopaths from escaping. But when a freak winter storm knocks out all power and security measures, Wiseman knows that the inmates are going to try to escape their cells, and they're going to succeed. Not just that, but when the once prisoners discovered that the raging blizzard and sub-zero temperatures will kill anyone who leaves within minutes, their only hope will be to murder the staff of the Loon, as well as the young mother and little girl who took refuge from the storm. Killing temperatures without, serial killers and psychopaths within. But none of these is the biggest problem. No, the biggest problem is the thing that lives in the depths of the Loon, a creature that knows no remorse, no fear. It feels only one thing, hunger, and it lives only to feed. The staff huddle in terror, madmen scratch at the door, and a ravenous monster is coming to consume them all. Welcome to the Loon. And that is The Loon, and that is by Michael Brent Collings. All right, and that is going to do it for Horror Across America, covering Missouri and covering Montana. So until next time, take care and stay scared. Bye-bye.